TSA officer here at SeaTac told me they got 2 additional emails this weekend asking for a list of 5 things they did last week. They feel this is DOGE's way of frustrating people enough to either quit or be fired from their jobs.
I want you to tell me what you did this past week and 5 things that you've accomplished. If you are getting dismissal of people that are not complying to this ridiculous email, you're losing bodies that are going to directly impact your safety and security at an airport.
Right now, the last thing in the world that we need in air safety is a diminution of the number of people working at the FAA to try to make things as safe as possible. It is not only folly, it's just sheer stupidity.
Good day, good people. Thank you for stopping by a quick edition of the Independent Mail. If you happen to be subscribed to the channel, please do me a favor, be like LL and all right. Now, this is just a quick follow-up to a video I did about 2 or 3 days ago regarding Elon Musk's DOGE and his recent FAA firings. This video came from this perspective that a lot of Americans were starting to view air travel as less safe after some of these mass firings.
It makes me feel even more uncomfortable and unsafe about flying.
The video also included clips from actual professionals that keep data on this sort of things, in which the professionals noted that historically, January and February had been like one of the worst periods in all of history, that overall air traffic safety, the data shows, was still on par with what it is typically.
This is a terrible month. This is probably the worst month in 20, 30 years. Yeah, precious cargo. And you have to take your job seriously and be a professional.
Now, if you are hesitant about booking your next trip, remember thousands of flights operate safely every single day.
Why did I bring up the fact that the public was starting to view or perceive that air traffic was less safe? The reason for this was because perception is reality. And before the election, it was perceived that we had not come out of our global inflation quickly enough.
Give us a sense of how the economy is doing right now. Let's start there. And how it compares to how voters are feeling. We've seen sort of like it's like this missing puzzle piece a lot of times, or even though we're getting positive information about the economy, voters still don't feel good. And I hear so constantly, the number one thing I hear is it sucks to go to the grocery store right now.
It was perceived by the American public that eggs and other goods were too high. So regardless of what the data actually said, which said that the United States was performing actually the best globally of coming out of the inflation, the perception was that we weren't, and that it was Joe Biden's inflation that Kamala Harris had to carry into the election. So my question was, if the public continues to perceive that air traffic is less safe, would this be problems for the airline industry overall and subsequently to the Trump administration and DOGE? All right, fast forward to about a day or so ago, and now there are more firings. This time, DOGE and the Trump administration have targeted actual TSA agents. Now, there are more professionals, TSA employees sounding the alarm, as well as other administrative individuals sounding the alarm. But let's not take my word for it. You know how I do. Let's take theirs.
Yeah, a TSA officer here at SeaTac told me they got 2 additional emails this weekend asking for a list of 5 things they did last week. And that officer tells me they're worried for the safety of all air travelers here at SeaTac and beyond, because they feel this is DOGE's way of frustrating people enough to either quit or be fired from their jobs.
This is just part of it. It's part of the reduction of government. If you don't comply to what we need, then you're gone.
This TSA officer at SeaTac did not want to be identified out of fear of retaliation, but told me local officers are frustrated.
If you're not performing your job properly, then you have your basic sit-down discussions, and then it moves on to the next level and the next step.
They were told last week they weren't actually required to answer an email from the U.S. government's chief HR agency saying this.
I want you to tell me what you did this past week and 5 things that you've accomplished.
But they got that same email this weekend, and another one from their boss's boss, Department of Homeland Security, now requiring them to answer that question for them.
Well, obviously, there's a hiring freeze nationwide. That's also public, and that impacts locally as well. So if you are getting dismissal of people that are not complying to this ridiculous email, you're losing bodies that are going to directly impact your safety and security at an airport.
Speaking of safety and security, next door at the Federal Aviation Administration, 130 workers were recently laid off. The Trump administration said no one with a critical safety position was let go, but a union that represents those FAA workers say all of them supported overall safety. Aviation expert John Nance weighed in.
We have to pay a lot of attention to the things that should not ever be allowed to be interdicted by budget. Right now, the last thing in the world that we need in air safety is a diminution of the number of people working at the FAA to try to make things as safe as possible. It is not only folly, it's just sheer stupidity. I don't care what your alignment is politically.
So in certain situations with these emails, as far as list what you did last week, 5 things, accomplishments, et cetera, I totally get that, to be honest. For positions in the government that seem to be a little bit ambiguous, like literally, I don't know what this position is. Kind of give me a description of what it is, right? TSA agents, this somewhat seems asinine. I kind of get the former or maybe current employee. I know he was grayed out. I kind of get his aspect of calling it ridiculous. Like, what are you doing looking at email after email that says, I searched the bag, I searched the suitcase, I searched the person. Next email, I searched a bag, I searched a suitcase, I searched a person. Next email, I searched a bag. I mean, like, literally, you know what TSA agents do. All right. So I think with all of your infinite computer AI intelligence and data and software, I think you can figure out more efficiently if there are enough TSA agents that support the traffic, the flow of individuals, the people that go through there that TSA agents check to see if it's adequately staffed, if it's overstaffed, et cetera, et cetera. I think sending out those silly emails to TSA agents is kind of like silly. All right. Like, send them to the garbage man. Ask him what he did last week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, I totally get it on an ambiguous positions, but something like TSA agents, that's kind of ridiculous. Just do an assessment for the amount of people that go through said airport and see if it should have that many TSA agents. I don't see the need for the emails. But on the flip side, though, the real crux of this, now our firings of TSA agents in this TSA drama, is that going to add to the public perception that air travel is less safe after all of these gutting firings? All right. Again, I am not saying it is. I am just asking the question that if this keeps going on, will perception start to prevail? All right. That's my question for today. I appreciate it if you watch this video. Again, if you subscribe, please hit the bell like LL so you'll be informed the next time I drop one of these deliciously entertaining and informative videos. Ha ha ha. Cue laughter. All right. Till next time, y'all guys, you have a great day. Peace and stay informed.